Okay, so this is part 2 on our podcast on the definition of a derivative. We said the derivative wears many hats. It's the instantaneous rate of change, which is, we're going to call that velocity in our very near future. But, okay, let me read the problem first. It says an object's dropped from the top of a cliff 600 meters high. Its height above the ground, t seconds after its drop, is 600, I'll write it so you can see it, minus 4.9 t squared. So height. Determine its speed 4 seconds after it's dropped. Well, the thing is, speed is the absolute value of velocity, and velocity is the first derivative. So we haven't formally said that. That's coming up in a future podcast, but that basically means if we could find h prime of t, which we could, using the definition of derivative, but, what we're going to find out shortly is that the derivative of a constant is 0, and the derivative of this expression here is simply just 2 times negative 4.9, which is a negative 9.8, t. So the derivative of negative 4.9 t squared is negative 9.8 t. So now we know that h prime of t is negative 9.8 t, and we want to know, what's the speed 4 seconds after it's dropped? Well, the absolute value of negative 9.8 times 4 is something. So this implies that speed is going to be equal to this. Survey says 39.2. So meters per second, let's try typing that in. Oops. Okay. And then I just have one more problem, which was number 29. These are ones that I didn't get to podcast in the first set. So, okay. This one says, what is the rate of change of volume? I'm going to write out the function here. Of a ball. So they give us volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. What's the rate of change of volume with respect to the radius when the radius is 4? I'm just going to write here when radius is 4. Rate of change of volume with respect to radius, how do you translate that? dV dr. dV dr means rate of change of volume with respect to radius. That basically means we're going to get the derivative of this. Alright, I'm just going to use the derivative laws that are coming soon. So 3 times 4/3 is 4. So we're going to have 4 pi. Pi is just a constant. So 4 pi r squared then is the derivative. And then again we want to see that, when r equals 4. So go ahead and plug 4 in. So we'll have 4 times pi times 16, basically. 4 squared is 16. Let's crunch that out. Oh, it says type an exact answer using pi. So 16 times 4 is 64, so we're going to have 64 pi. So dV dr is equal to 64 pi. Let's try and type that in. And again, I encourage you to try to use the definition of the derivative on at least a couple of these, just to make sure you can do it the long way before you get into these shortcuts that I'm using. I'm just doing those for time's sake. And that's it for that segment. It's a short one. Good luck.